It is, and looking forward to keep growing as a player and as a man. And like I said, my best years are definitely ahead of me, and this year is going to be one of those. But there's no limit, and now is due to myself to show you guys that.
It'll be cool to see a consistent vibe throughout the year too. You know, no ups and downs, kind of just the same mentality the whole year. It's just kind of an FU mentality. Let's go at them. Let's beat them. Let's take everything we got.
Have an FU mentality. Put that on a t-shirt. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I'm Marty Caswell. That is, yes, I'm going to say it right now. That is my co-host, Darren Smith, here on Marty Time TV. We're brought to you by that's right, promotion, Darren. We're brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Man, it is Super Bowl week, Darren. I know that right now you're wishing that you were jammed with a bunch of media members in the convention center somewhere in the Bay Area and me forcing 20 guests per hour onto the show. You okay?
Yeah,
missing this all?
Yeah, it's Super Bowl week. I know it's always that annual reminder of what Radio Row is like. I will say, like, San Francisco was a good destination. If I was still in radio, if we were still in radio and the opportunity presented itself to go to this, I would probably accept. There's a lot of places that I would say no, like I just don't want to go anymore. I'm tired of it. But I thought San Francisco was a good host city when we were there, even with all the chaos of you jamming 3 different actors on the Independence Day cast all at one time.
That's right.
Total chaos, total selfish move by Marty. But
that's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I would have gone. I think San Francisco is, I don't care at all about the game. You know, somebody can send me a note when it's halftime because that'll be the best part of the event, I would guess. But yeah, I don't know. Do you miss it? I feel like you miss it.
I do miss it, but I also think it's changed a lot too. And by the way, you mentioned the whole idea of not being in radio anymore to go ahead and do this. I promise you that there are more podcasters out there than actual radio shows that are going, because that's kind of where the money is. That's where the growth is. And that was starting to change, Darren, even the last time that we were there. Think about what Pat McAfee had, his platform before he got to ESPN. He had like the biggest, like maybe the biggest budget, the biggest audience, his own stage. So I'm telling you right now, I guarantee you that the days of thinking that Radio Row is about traditional radio stations is over. Now I want to go. Maybe next year. Where is it next year? We'll go next year, Darren.
I don't know. Yeah, next year. I mean, you know, the point that you make's a good one. You know, Kaplan and crew, they're going to San Francisco.
Of course. See?
You know, and that's not just his tie-in with the LA radio station. He's taking Alex Padilla, John Browner. So I think you're right about that those guys have been going for quite a while. So I mean, I would never say never, but I just, you know, I think that whole week kind of ran its course. You know, there was never really any evidence that the listeners actually liked it, you know, like that it was just more for us than it was for them. But I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I did feel that way a lot. Like I felt like it was, you know, even me joking about the cast of Independence Day, like that was a total, like Marty wanted, which Hemsworth brother was it?
Liam Hemsworth. Now I think Chris Hemsworth, he's the hotter one. In my opinion, you know, Thor, Avengers, all
couldn't
that
tell
stuff.
that day.
But Liam is still, he's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I'm more about the city now. Like San Francisco would be a place that I enjoyed going to San Francisco, so I would go there. But you know, Jacksonville, like forget it. You know, I would never go. I didn't really like Miami as a, you know. Anyhow, this is why are we talking about this?
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead. In the interest of time, because you have things to get to, I have a project up north that I have to get to. Hey, Darren, Padres FanFest. Press conferences galore. I'm going to let you go ahead and lead the direction on this. I think that perhaps the way our conversation is going to go, I'm thinking of more who wasn't there than who was there. And we'll get there shortly. But for those who were there, Darren, what's the comment that intrigued you the most? Was it Jackson Merrill? Was it me pressing poor AJ Preller about his contract status? And I don't know that we had even any more clarity. Was it Craig Stammen on the all-important question of who's playing first? What you got?
I don't know. I mean, I did think about that before you introduced me as the co-host here. You know, is FanFest, would we spend more time talking about who was there or who wasn't there? And as far as I know, there are only 2 names. Manny
Yes.
Machado and Xander Bogaerts, who weren't there. I'm sure there might have been somebody else. You Darvish, I think, was traveling internationally, if I read correctly. And we can get to that.
Mhm.
I think just because of what we talked about when you invited me on last week, the Preller contract extension, listening to him talk about how, and saying some things I think that were different than what we had heard previously, about ownership, about what the future looks like. I felt like that was, I know that that's interesting to you. So I felt like it was interesting to listen to him address it. Him addressing the absence was just hilarious. I mean, it was the funniest thing. Thank you for posting that. I put that in our Discord channel and people had a good laugh. But yeah, I think like AJ Preller is an indicator of what's happening with this organization, right? I mean, people might think it's like obsessive to keep talking about this contract, but is it indicative of something else? I think that's part of the story of AJ's contract, and he has said as much that he's not quite clear where ownership is going, and so it becomes part of that storyline. I think so. I don't know. I don't. I think there's a lot of reading between the lines on different things. The clip of Jackson Merrill talking about Craig Stammen as a former player and going out of his way to say, I'm not going to say anything about Schilt. That was interesting. The first base stuff with Gavin Sheets. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think there was anything there that I'm like, oh my goodness, what a blockbuster. But there's some reading between the lines on stuff that I felt like was probably worth your while in going. Seriously, like as much as we joke about you in press conferences, like I do think there was like worthwhile stuff said by some of these people. So credit to you for being there and for documenting this stuff and chronicling this stuff, because I found it interesting, and I don't think I'm alone in that.
Okay, then I want to go ahead and play what we're talking about here. When I asked AJ Preller about his contract status, and listen to me, there was like a bunch of players like Michael King said that the reason that he signed with the Padres was because of AJ Preller, because of what his faith in Preller to deliver a winner, to find a way to go ahead and contend. And that's been a common theme with a lot of these players. So let me go ahead and just play that little clip there with AJ Preller.
Certainly that San Diego is where you want to be. Eric Grupner says weekly that you guys are still in talks. They want you in San Diego. Can you tell us why you haven't gotten a deal done yet? And do you expect it to happen soon?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think part of the timing piece, I think a little bit is on me in terms of, you get into these off seasons. I know we haven't been super transactional. We did the Michael King move, and we added Song. But it's, like the focus on winning and putting a team together, and free agents and trades I'm not great at, kind of like focusing on anything other than that this time of year, so I think that's been part of it. And ultimately I think I've been very consistent. I think you guys know, like, pretty realistic when it comes to making deals and what it looks like. And I think the biggest thing is, just in terms of, like, I think when win-win deals is when everybody's fair and they're honest and realistic, and I expect something to get done, continuing to talk, and again, looking forward to continue to talk about the team and the what we're trying to do to put a better team on the field. So that's been the focus.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he went on to say, to talk a little bit about the ownership. I saw Dennis Lynn had part of this, saying knowing you're in the sale process versus, that there's an owner that's going to be here for 10 years, that's at least a conversation. Like, that's a conversation that AJ has. Listen, like, he's not in any rush to sign this contract. He just said it. Like, that's, he said the words, I'm not in any rush to get this contract done. And, I don't want to compare my situation to his, but, there was a time where there was a contract extension on the table at iHeart. And I did not want to sign it. And, maybe I should have, but I don't know that anything would have changed, quite honestly. But I had this in front of me, and I thought there was an opportunity for me to, to use it to leverage some other opportunity. How can I, and I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening here, but, I think it's just clear, like, he's not in a rush to sign this contract. And, for whatever reason, I don't know, but, that's pretty much now how this has to be interpreted. If it was a huge priority for him, it would have been done. and he's saying it's on me, and he's talking about ownership. So it just seems kind of clear, I think, that it's something where he feels like he's not ready to do it, and that's fine. We'll see what happens, right?
Yep.
I mean, is that your read on it?
I completely like it. Just does not shock me if Preller's like, you know what, I'm going to play this thing out through this season, and then guess what? I'm going to have options. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, again, like my own situation, I'm like, maybe I should have signed that, but I mean, it just. I think it makes a lot of sense for him, like he was uniquely compatible with the previous owner.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no guarantee that he's going to have that compatibility with whoever it is that's next. So, I understand that. And I think if anything, it's a credit to him if there's an actual offer on the table that he's not just signing it just so he can, guarantee himself a couple of dollars, like I think that's a credit to him that he needs to, or it sounds like he wants to evaluate the situation and find out if it's a good fit for him.
Yeah, totally. But I'm just curious about this, okay? Because everyone that I've talked to, and I'm sure you as well, has pretty much all but guaranteed that there is going to be a lockout come next season. So just imagine that AJ Preller walks. That's going to be it for him. They, they part ways. They thank each other. They release a statement and blah, blah, blah. How on earth do you find someone new to run this thing when you're in the process of a sale? Like, who signs up for that? That just seems like a mess. That just seems like a mess. If you're going to do that, I don't know, man.
There's only 30 of these, Marty. There's only 30 of these jobs, and this one's, considered one of the, due to the culture, the city, where you get to live. People would leave their jobs to come take this gig. You know that as well as I do. People would leave their current positions to come and take this job. There would be a long line out the door of people with their resumes, their CVs in their hands saying, I would love to be the next president of baseball operations here.
Even if even with the uncertainty of ownership and not knowing what payroll is going to look like and the type of contracts that you are going to go and inherit.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I believe so. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and stay briefly on AJ. I'm just thinking, Darren, of the iconic picture that the Padres put out from FanFest, like in 2022. Remember that one? That was Juan Soto, Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, and Tatis, and that ridiculous, like everybody in San Diego was standing in Petco Park. That was amazing. One of the wildest FanFests I can remember. Now, the picture the Padres similarly sent out this time was with Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill, Don Orsillo, and Bud Grant. Love those two. Love all four, right? But it was just a little bit different that this time, rather than your four superstar players, or who you presume to be your superstar players, you have Tatis and Merrill, and then you have your two wildly popular broadcasters. Missing Xander Bogaerts. Missing Manny Machado. Before I get to your opinion on this, this is what AJ Preller had to say when asked about Manny Machado. Okay, about Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts, who were not there.
Do you know anything about their off season that's keeping them from coming?
Yeah, no, I talked to all those guys. They've had good off seasons. We have regular conversation. I think in Xander's case, got a family commitment that we were aware of. That's important for him. And Manny, again, like Manny, again, like regular communication there. Prior commitment for Manny. Manny is, and 2 years ago is our representative from the Roberto Clemente Award. He's been to FanFest. He really understands and appreciates what the fans mean and what this event means. But again, like I think for Manny, like we'll see him in spring training in a couple of weeks. He'll be ready to roll and talk to him all the time. And I think he's excited about the year.
Sorry, I was going to show the video of him, not my face, not you. But what did you think about that?
A little bit of tap dance in there.
Yeah.
I think, that was clear. We've all heard and interacted with AJ enough to know when he starts with the, again, it's sort of his way of filing through the different words in his brain before he actually says something. And I think he was put in a spot where he didn't really know what to say about Manny Machado. And he did his best to say, hey, listen, it's not that he doesn't want to, and I also want to be careful here because we don't know what's going on in Manny's life. I don't know. I mean, there might be something going on there that truly did make it really, really hard for him to come to this event.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, like here's where I'll just totally be on the fence about this. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not the kind of person that's going to go to this event anyway. That's not the way that I'm a fan. But I will say, Marty, like, I think it's disappointing for a lot of people who do.
Yeah.
And it's not like the team asks a lot of these guys during their off season. They ask them to do this. And, even the reference there to spring training. Well, when's Manny going to leave to go play for the Dominican Republic?
Right.
So, there's not many opportunities now. These guys, because the DR is going to, they're going to show up to camp and he's going to be gone. And that team's going to be around for a while.
Mhm.
So the unique access that you get in spring training, which is totally different than it is during the regular season, you're not really going to get that with him. And, I think, a lot of people are, I mean, myself included, I'm trying not to, to say, oh man, this is a disgrace, but I think it's really off-putting for a lot of fans.
Yeah.
That he's not there, that this organization is committed to him, and people took time out to go to this event again, which is a free event. I think people don't pay for it, but I can see it like from others.
You want your biggest stars. You want your it's called FanFest. You want your
It's a
biggest
fan
stars
fest.
there.
You're
And
doing
like,
it for the fans. This
Yeah,
isn't
and
a
like Preller
reflection on
pointed out-
Eric Grupner or John Seidler or ownership or whatever. Like, this is
Right.
this is something that the organization does for the fans. So I think sometimes fans, whether they should or shouldn't take it personally is a totally different story, but I think people do. And, I don't like when players put themselves in that situation. Again, I mean, it could be perfectly valid. Who knows what's going on in this guy's life?
Yeah.
But, FanFest is one of those things where, like, the organization really doesn't ask you to do a ton in the off season. And, like, they ask you to do this. And I like, you have to, I don't want to, say, well, he better, somebody, this better be an like, I don't know, man. I just think if there's a way for you to be there, you should, this organization that is, paid you what, like $500 million, like, should probably figure out a way to make that happen. But again, like that's us not knowing anything about what's going on in this guy's life. And I hate,
right.
jumping to, to the conclusion that he just, blew it off,
Right.
that it didn't matter. But, especially this year, like with a new manager and like the perception of a fresh start and, the World Baseball Classic, I mean, his absence was noteworthy. I mean, fans noticed it. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you and I think. Like I wouldn't wait in line for autographs, but lots of people do. And that's that was disappointing, I think, for a lot of people.
You can argue your two biggest stars that get the most attention, the biggest crowds. It's Manny Machado and it's Tatis, and it's 1 and 2, and it's not even close.
Right.
And to your point, I do know that the schedule is different this year because of the WBC. The position, everyone who's playing in the WBC has to report to spring training like 6 days earlier than everybody else. So I'm sure if we speak to Manny, that's going to be a part of the factor. But it'll be interesting because I thought he had some very pointed comments on ownership and direction and making sure that they invest and spend in this team. And I don't know, maybe it's a message, maybe it's not, but I thought it was notable he's not there. Again, you want your biggest players at FanFest. Speaking of,
and I also wanted him to come to the CONCACAF Champions Cup match on Tuesday night against Pumas. I was like, oh man, that'd be cool. That's like a double dip for him. Come into town, do the FanFest, hang out in San Diego for a couple of days, and come support the club in its first ever CONCACAF Champions League match. That would be worth the trip, I think.
Maybe he'll be there.
I hope so.
If he is, I think
that would. I don't know.
If he's there, I need you to run over with your trusty your phone and interview him for the next show.
Yes.
Sound good, Darren?
Yes. This is. I'll get you on FaceTime. I'll say here. This is Marty. Marty needs to ask you questions.
I'm so curious of all the people that I really want to talk to. And I'm not sure. And he'll usually give me like one very, good interview per season. Like when I say good, like, candid, like just one-on-one, we can talk about whatever. We can talk about, I don't know, teammates, family, goals, STFC. He did that with me last year, which I do appreciate. But I want to find out, like last year, he deleted his social media and he was great on IG, promoted everything himself, his teammates, STFC, and then he just gone without a trace. The last time we talked to him was when Jake from CBS, Jake asked him, how do you assess your season? He was very unhappy with that question. And then after that, know nothing about what's happening about his off season, zero. So Anyways,
Yeah.
that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like he's a really, really popular player. And at the end of the day, he gets paid to hit home runs. That's what he gets paid to do. We all understand that. But for a guy who is often held up and considered a leader and a de facto captain of the team, that's not just showing up and getting 4 at-bats a game. We all know that Manny posts. Like, somebody made a really interesting point, I thought, on our Section 1904 Discord channel the other day, which is still going, that, Manny's a guy who prides himself on posting, on playing.
Yep.
And, that's why it stands out to fans that he's not at an event when, like, his whole aura is about every day being there and his availability. And, again, like, there could be something going on in this guy's life. And I don't want to make it seem like you and I had the same conversation about Will Myers many years ago. When Will Myers skipped FanFest, we're like, how does Will Myers, where does he get off? What is going on in this guy's life that he can't show up at FanFest? That's like embarrassing that Will, who's like the only athlete on the team, who Kevin Acey labeled the face of San Diego sports. Like, how does that guy not show up at FanFest? So, it's always, like I said, it's a tricky thing to be critical because you don't know. But, I do think, like, it's disappointing for a lot of fans. I mean, people go there, they want to see this guy and they just don't get this kind of access. And I mean, there's enough people there, I think, that people had a good time. I don't think it was make or break because Manny wasn't there, but it's a story, and that's kind of not what you really want when you're getting set to start a season.
It'll be interesting to see how he reacts to everything. I know when we spoke to Craig Salmon initially at his intro presser, he said that he heard from Manny immediately after this. I mean, they were really, really good friends, former teammates and all that stuff. So I'm just curious to see what kind of mood he's going to be in with especially if the Padres don't do anything to add to their roster before spring training. Last year, Nick Pivetta and he turned out to be a really impactful player, as was Gavin Sheets. But like this offseason, Michael King, of course, is notable that they were to bring him back. I thought his comments, we don't have time for that today. You can find it on Marty Time TV, but his comments about, you, Darvish, sitting in on that meeting with him and Preller and his agent, and you have to ask them how he was able to go ahead and give me some extra dollars. I had imagined that the idea that Darvish was going to walk away from this contract, we're not going to call it retirement, but walk away from this particular contract factored into the Padres being able to pay Michael King. There's no other way to look at that. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, that seems to make a lot of sense. I don't think everybody's waiting for you, Darvish, to walk away from this contract so that they can go out and spend more money. I think that even the reporting seems to suggest that whatever money it is that they're going to be saving from Darvish walking away from the contract probably isn't going to make that big of a difference. It's, already been allotted for. So yeah, I think that's probably the right read.
All right, Darren Smith, I think the most interesting comment I heard at FanFest, and I think you and I might be on the same page. It came from Jackson Merrill. And he was asked about Schilt, it's the first Mike Schilt and the importance of continuity, blah, blah, blah. This is his answer. You can interrupt whenever you want to. It's a little bit of a longer answer, but it was a really, really good answer. Hang on one second, guys. Hopefully I get this footage correct.
I think on any team, it's super helpful to have a consistent manager. I'm not going to diss Schilt at all. I think he was a great guy to me, and he treated me with a lot of respect and treated the players with a lot of respect. I'm excited for Stammen. He's a player. He's played the game before. He's been in it, so it's cool to have someone with that experience. It'll be cool to see a consistent vibe throughout the year too. No ups and downs, kind of just the same mentality the whole year. It's just kind of an FU mentality. Let's go at them. Let's beat them. Let's take everything we got.
What do you think it would be like to have a manager that is so closely removed from being a player himself, and how he'll be able to kind of connect with you guys in the clubhouse?
I think it's awesome. I think the game has changed. I mean, I've only been in the league for a couple of years, as we said before, but it's obvious the game has changed over the past 10 years. So someone that's really close being removed and kind of knows how it goes, knows how you're feeling, knows what players feel during the season, I think that's a lot of helpfulness. All of us are going to relate to him in more ways than we possibly think. And, he's the man. He likes to talk shit. He likes everything. Pardon my language, but that's how he is. So, only been around him for a couple weeks now here, but he's the man.
Yeah. You got to love the, I'm not going to diss Mike Schilt, but man, like, having a player and a guy who's going to be consistent, no ups and downs, like, okay. I know you didn't say that exactly, but we all heard something there.
Consistent vibe. So
Yeah,
was
ups and
he
downs.
was he moody? Was he too emotional? I mean, there's a lot there.
There was a lot there. I know. And again, like we can get in trouble here by putting words in Jackson Merrill's mouth, but what he said again, like this is why I said like you actually had a really good day at FanFest. Like because this was interesting. I mean, I know he's saying I'm not dissing. Like that's the only manager he's ever had.
Yeah.
And he's just like, and he's like, we always wonder, like, do you have to be a former player? Does it matter if you're a former big leaguer? And the answer is yes. Now, again, like we'll say, just because Craig Stammen was a former big leaguer doesn't mean they're going to win 90 games or 93 games,
right?
Where they have over the last couple of years. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of you're telling us everything we need to know with that answer, Jackson. Like
he said, the game.
We get it.
Yes, he also said that the game has changed. The game has changed a lot in the last 10 years, which it has, and that seems to be in trend. Look who the Giants just hired from San Francisco. Now he's not a former big leaguer either, but he's closer to some of these players, and maybe he's stuck with the college game as well, the relatable factor. But I'm just thinking maybe the mood thing, more about the vibe, having consistent vibes.
Vibes were off all year last year, Marty.
Right?
Like you were much closer to it than I. I had to do this stuff mostly through watching your video or sitting around like apparently the whole Padre front office was and watching those post-game press conferences and wondering why it was that players appeared to be miserable throughout the span of the regular season. And again, I don't know that it's fair to pin that all on Mike Schilt, but Jackson Merrill's telling you that there were ups and downs and there was an inconsistent vibe to the team last year. I mean, he's telling you that, right? So, I will choose to believe what it is that Jackson Merrill is telling us there, that, our suspicion was right. Like that the energy, right? That's the word everybody uses now, that like the energy, the vibes, I kind of hate using all these words, but still it fell off last year. And, like, you're like, why is this guy, like, why is Fernando Tatis Jr. so miserable? Like what's with these guys? And I think that that's a little bit of a glimpse into some of what they were dealing with last season. So, I think it kind of confirms what people were speculating about for the majority of the season last year. Even with the success, it felt like it was a grind. It felt like everything was just odd. Like it just like even the winning felt like more like a relief than it did like something to celebrate. Like guys are just exhausted. Like remember that moment that you had with Fernando, where, you walked in from a Mike Schilt press conference and the Dodgers were up next and Mike Schultz like, we play them right now. And you go to Fernando, he's like, what? Like, I need to go to sleep. That just was like this inconsistency, like that was obvious for everybody. And it was easy to overlook it because there was success on the field and because they won 90 games and they went to the playoffs. But man, everything just felt like it was way harder than it, it's a hard sport, man. It's a really, really hard sport. And it felt like it was a lot more, it was exhausting to watch this team. Like people just didn't, I don't know, like on the outside, Marty, people, I don't know if you picked up on this. I just got the sense people didn't really they just didn't connect with this team last year. And hopefully that's something that will change. Because everything that I have heard about Craig Stammen, we can think what we want about him as the manager and the selection. Everything I've heard is he's a complete 180 from where they were under Mike Schilt. And, that's a great starting point for a lot of people now who I know who still work in that organization, who will enjoy going to work more than they have enjoyed going to work over certainly the last year, and maybe even a little bit longer than that.
I'm sure that the conversation on Mike Schilt is going to fade as we get closer to spring training, because we've asked until we talk to Manny Machado. I mean, he's probably the last notable player because he seemed pretty close with Mike Schilt. Him and Luis Arias were the guys that I thought spent the most time with him on the field, hugging, taking the pictures on this and that. But the one thing that's notable to me is when this stuff comes out about how he treats the coaching staff and some of the admin, there's no one that's come out in his defense. I mean, no one. There's no one from this Padres coaching staff that said, no, this is unfair, blah, 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 blah. So when you treat certain people like that, your players know it trickles down. I know Musgrove was a little bit about shock. He said, he always treated me kindly. Well, you better when it's Joe Musgrove. But I think Merrill can see through a lot of things. He's different generation, different sort of player. He doesn't need to be coddled in post game. He knows when he's struggling. And you're probably wondering, like, why can't you answer a simple question? Why do you get so flustered and start, yelling at people? There's just,
I mean, there was like, I think people, Marty, I mean, listen, I think it's just, there's a lot of things that you can say are a credit to Mike Schilt. You know, the man's resume has 90 wins next to his name every single season. But you and I all heard the same. We all heard the same thing. Like there was just, I think people saw through it. I think they thought he was just kind of a phony, that he treated he treated, the star players that you're talking about. He treated them one way, and then he treated other people totally differently. And that didn't sit well with a lot of guys. So, the consistent vibe, that's exactly what Jackson Merrill's talking about. Like he's just said, I've known Craig Stammen for 2 weeks, right? I mean, like he literally just said that. Like I've only known this guy for a couple of weeks. And I'm already predicting that we're going to have a more consistent vibe in this regular season. I can already tell that. Like, hello, like he's telling us, exactly what it was. And credit to him for not going in on some of the stuff. Like, we don't need to keep rehashing this. Like, let's move on with our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think he's, again, that's a real moment where he's giving you some insight into some of the stuff that these guys were dealing with last year on their way to what was, I guess, a successful season, but at least a playoff caliber team. But that was good. Good answer. Good job out of you.
Thank you. I'm frozen. Can you hear me right now?
I can. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I'm not sure what's happening. Like this is like telling me, all right, enough, time to bounce. I'm sorry. I had to hit my project today. Darren, SDFC is tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Snapdragon
right?
Stadium. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
What is with your Wi-Fi, man?
Oh. Okay. I forgot to plug in the Ethernet today, and all of a sudden it's acting strange. So if you want to go ahead and just talk about something, I can plug it in 20 seconds. Do I have 20 seconds to plug it in so we can finish strong?
Whatever.
Tell us
we don't even have a radio broadcast for this tomorrow.
Was.
Yeah, I don't even have anything to promote because we're not doing the game on the radio, but I will be there as a fan. Yeah, it's. Mm-hmm. Some things are as consistent as they've ever been.
Work. Piece of crap. Oh my God. How am I back?
Yes, we had a nice still shot of your armpit for about 10 seconds.
Oh no. Okay. I'm sorry. When I was gone, did you explain where Chucky Lozano was going to be?
Well, I know where he's not going to be.
Oh.
He's not going to be on the field. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get some answers later today. I'm actually headed out to training.
Okay,
training ground. So
get some footage.
We'll see. Maybe they'll have some interesting press conference topics, just like you had over the weekend with the.
Maybe
with
Manny
the
will be there.
well.
Maybe Manny will be there. You could do two things at one time. That's be amazing.
Can you imagine? God, man.
Yes.
Like even I'm like, oh man, like if he shows up, it's gonna be kind of weird. I don't think he will though. I don't think he's expected to be there. So there is some consistency to him not being in San Diego this week. I can say that for sure.
Okay, got it. All right, well, good deal. Hey, before I sign up for today, I do want to mention that you guys know that I am also on Friar territory. I've been working with Kyle Glazer. Kyle Glazer's last show was last Friday, so he is going to do bigger and better things. I think he will still dabble in baseball. I hope so. I hope he'll still be a guest. You can still catch me in some capacity on Friar territory, so make sure that you like and subscribe to the show. We have stuff coming up. I'm not sure what it is. We've got stuff coming up. Stuff is coming up, but I hope you will all continue to like and subscribe and watch and support Friar Territory. It is certainly a changing landscape in media, man. I'm telling you, Darren, we started the show talking about the Super Bowl and how there's probably more podcasters out there, independent media, than traditional radio. It's really changing. So we'll see where it goes.
I know.
Any final words?
Are you excited? Yes, I'm very excited for Bad Bunny. I feel like I'm totally have been validated, vindicated for talking about Bad Bunny all those years before most of you knew who he was.
Yes.
And now look at him. He's winning Grammy for the record of the year. He's Super Bowl halftime show. Yep. So yeah.
You do have your own private room. Have you told Leah, listen, leave me alone for the halftime show. I need to be in my own.
She
Huh?
loves. She's into him. She digs
That's
him.
great. By the way, one of my favorite SNL hosts of all time. He is his episode when Pedro Pascal, when he came on stage, so damn funny, so talented, man.
He's a really, he does. I just happened to come across the other day his carpool karaoke, which I had never seen, which was really, really good. So, and he's just he's an incredibly talented person. So I'm more excited for the halftime show truly than I am for the actual game itself. But Sam Darnold, how do you feel if you're Kevin O'Connell and you're watching Sam Darnold take a Seattle Seahawks team to the Super Bowl? You're like, interesting.
Hey man, that's a really strange story with his GM. Also, I mean, I know that he was just fired yesterday, and I'm sure that this was icing on the cake. Watching the quarterback that you let go to Seattle, letting him go, having Justin Jefferson pop off and say, "Man, we would have been." Of course, you would have been better with Sam Darnold, but that's just interesting. And I know people are getting on him for the whole paternity leave. I will just say, that's an unusual story. And I know you want to be like, "Hey, family's important." It is, but when you are the executive of a football team, you just can't take time off.
No, that's why I thought Philip Rivers was crazy. Like, you have a dozen children here. What are you doing?
But they're older. He's a grandfather now. It's different.
No, still,
anyway.
I mean, he's got some kids that probably, require a father in their life. I don't know. Crazy talk. Glad that didn't happen as well.
Yeah,
all right, Marty.
All right, D. Smith, this has been fun. That's Darren Smith. You can follow him at D. Smith Show on the Twitter and the IG, and probably somewhere on Threads. Threads is still a thing. Blue Sky is still a thing. I know you're on there. And you have a Discord channel, you said?
Yeah, that's invite only though. So
good stuff. Really?
As we're still like going through the divorce about who gets to claim what property. We're keeping that alive so that people can still interact. So it's it'll be around for a while. I can tell you that. It's a good channel, Marty. You should pop in there every once in a while.
I'm going to do that, but I need an invite.
All right. I think we gave you one. But
no, you didn't.
All right. Well, we'll get you in there. I posted your videos in there, so everybody had a good laugh at Preller explaining away Manny's absence. It was funny.
Roberto Clemente 2 years ago. All right, guys. All right. Thanks, D. Smith. I'm Marty Caswell.
Roberto Clemente 2 years ago. Yeah, that was the most random line ever. He was nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award 2 years ago. Like, what's the big deal? Like, what?
Listen. It was just strange. Maybe it's nothing, but the answer was a little bit strange. I feel like Preller was caught off guard by the question. I have to explain where Manny is. I mean, come on.
Like you just sort of like it was almost like the two angels, right? Like the angel and the devil. Like what do I say here? Like he came out like how he came up with the Roberto Clemente nominee. Like I
Manny's hot corner.
That answer. Yeah, it's amazing. He's been a FanFest before. I don't know.
Every year. He never misses.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we at least owe it to here. But again, I understand, how fans would say, like, it's an event for us. It's not for Eric Grupner. You want to skip one of Eric Grupner's things, skip one of Eric Grupner's things. But, this is one that's put on for the... Anyway, we talked enough about it.
Okay. All right, Darren. See you soon, I hope. Very soon.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invite. So I'm sure you'll just schedule me for more appearances. I will. I have some time.
I will, because Daniel Jeremiah says he's available this week. The Senior Bowl has wrapped up. I know you want a full breakdown, Darren, on the Senior Bowl. So let's get DJ. Let's go ahead and do this thing. We should check in with Fitzy. Isn't his brother on the Seahawks? Did I miss something here?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, Devin his brother is Devin is a coach for Seattle. Yeah.
So Fitzy's got to be in the Bay Area, right?
I would think so.
He's got to be there. Your brother's in the Super Bowl?
I know.
So maybe Fitzy
will convince you to fly out
for a 24-hour bender.
I need to do a proper preview for the game tomorrow. So.
Oh, okay.
So just leave this open and I'll circle back in a couple of hours.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Thank you, Marty. Good to see you.
Brought to you by the all-new Humboldt Casino Resort, the Players Place. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back later this week. Have a great...
Yeah, talks continue, nothing new, same comment that has been made multiple times before. Yeah. Thanks.
Expect to have any news soon on AJ Preller's status going forward?
Yeah, as I said recently, that's a conversation that's happening between John and AJ this offseason, and I think we continue to remain confident that AJ is going to be our president of baseball operations past 2026, and excited to continue to build on the success that we've had here